I ended the world. Well, maybe not directly, but I feel I'm still primarily to blame. You see, I am the Oracle of Calthun. It started 5 years ago when I was in the middle of magic research and I created a new spell. I called it Glimpse. It was a variation on common scrying spells. But this didn't let me see the world through another's eyes. This let me see glimpses of the future. I was so excited back then. I was amazed, confused, and horrified by some of the things I saw. I saw technology I couldn't fathom. I saw how many of my friends would die. I even saw how people were fighting over the accuracy of events happening now. Needless to say, no one really believed me in the beginning. Sure, people knew I was a spellcaster, but to see the future was such a strange concept that I was outright dismissed rather quickly. That's not to say some people didn't come to me, though they only wanted to know what would happen to them, not really what the state of the future world looked like. However, it wasn't how the spell worked. I can't control what I see, only that it takes place in the future. So for those folks who came to me, I either had to be honest with them or tell convenient lies so they would leave me be. It wasn't until something from my visions came true that people started paying serious attention to me and my words. When I first began, I publicly announced that the Bank of Calthun, which was a massive, magnificent building, that it would collapse without warning, killing everyone inside. Of course, people ignored me then, but approximately 9 months later, the building collapsed. Apparently, the structure was built on a sinkhole, and the strain on the foundation brought the whole thing down. At least 100 people died in the collapse. After that, the government made sure to have me constantly scrying and taking notes on everything I saw. It was exhausting, but to have the recognition at last for my abilities more than made up for any motivation. And it wasn't long until the head engineers and scholars were able to figure out some of the technology that I had been seeing. It was at this point that the end was becoming apparent. I didn't notice it for a long time. However, slowly the glimpses I saw became more and more grim. I saw more dead people, more disasters than initially. But by the time I realized this, it was too late. You see, once the government had a clear technological advantage over our neighboring countries, they wasted no time going to war with them. And it was swift victory too, especially after one of my glimpses showed the war council of our enemies, revealing how they would be crushed by us. If you don't understand, in 1 year's time, our country went from fighting with crossbows and magic to rifles and artillery. No one could oppose us except the universe itself. And it did. It was after our lightning war that I finally realized the dangers of my powers. You see, as I now understand, the universe operates like an improvised play. The dialogue and actions are all instantaneous, but there are plot points that need to occur regardless of the direction the improvisers take. I call the phenomena this present destiny. There are certain destinies that must take place. However, if in our free will we have deviated too far, then the universe will make corrective actions. Actions that hold dire consequences. You see, a destiny was for our country to go to war with our neighbors, and to win. But because of my visions and the technology that we acquired through them, we won the war too fast. The destiny, as it was meant to play out, didn't have nearly enough people dead. And so, because I sped up events, the universe had to match my speed. Within a week of victory, a terrible contagion struck not only us, but all of the known world. It caused seizures and heart attacks among seemingly anyone in the population. Millions were dead in a matter of minutes. And this was just the start. By that point, I was so afraid. So I continued my glimpses in desperation. I was convinced that if I kept watching the future, I might see some hope that things would work out. But it was all in vain. Every glimpse I had only showed worse and worse horrors. Then I began to see myself. For the first time, I was seeing my future, and every time I saw me, I saw my death. Each time in increasing levels of creativity and grisliness. But, as I said in the beginning, the world is ending. The universe has been so drastic in its course correction that it fundamentally made other destinies impossible to complete, which led to only more corrections, until today. As I speak to you through this radio, as I believe it's called, I want you all to know that I have given up trying to glimpse what is to come. I'm not convinced there is anything left for me to see. If anyone out there manages to survive, I beg you to pass on to the next generation to never try and predict things to come. I see now that there is no good. No good has come from my actions, or those before me that were caught up in what might be rather than what is. I am truly sorry for what I've done. I only had the best intentions. However, intentions mean very little compared to the results. I can only hope that the survival of civilization, of humanity, is a destiny. If not, then I'm sorry. Before I sign off, I want to share a poem that I once read in my youth that, given the circumstances, I think is rather fitting. When dark winds blow and stagger the weary, the ground gurgles, cast in molten fire. Rough chains rust on broken resolve. This is the twilight of the gods. Morning dirges echo into your heart, fading the once green hills. The destroyer weeps for his effectiveness. The wisp flickers and dies. Just feel the heat on your skin. This is the twilight of the gods.